Generate data to create the news. Generate data to create the news. So we do a lot with data-driven PR at PR Hacker, and that process means a lot of different things. It means optimizing the stories we're pitching, A/B testing them using multivariate testing against headlines. It means optimizing our pitch time. That means that, okay, we track the best time to pitch all of these media contacts throughout the US. Should we pitch 3:32 p.m. on a Wednesday? Is that the optimal time? We do that too. But how do we then take it one step further and create an ongoing program where it's not like we have to come out with a new product feature to generate news. It's not like we have to make a splashy new hire. Oh, we just hired the CMO of blah, 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 and we want to announce it to make news. It's not even that we have to say, oh, we just hit our millionth user to generate news. Those are all good news items. But how do we create a data program to create the news? And in fact, what I would suggest is that when you are actually building your product, your solution, your service, you build in the data piece in mind, not only for your own insight, so you can measure and test and you have great data for your investors, but actually with a marketing purpose in mind. And when you say, okay, I'm creating data because I want to help with the marketing. I want to be able to create news. I want to generate earned media coverage that accelerates my growth. Suddenly you approach it a little differently. So think like a journalist to create data that aligns with the cultural or industry calendar. So how we create news and how we make it relevant is it's relevant right now. So if all of you have apps or products or services that deal with summer road trips, and you have data, that's relevant right now because a lot of people are on summer road trips, right? Well, pretty soon we're coming into back to school. Back to school is coming up. If you have any application that doesn't have to be direct for back to school, it might just be, for instance, we have clients now that deal with setting habits as a family. So if we're doing that, back to school is a time where as a family you set new habits because your kids are going back to school maybe from yourself. It might not even be an app or a product that has to do with back to school, right? So we're thinking about the cultural industry calendar. If you're a B2B company, maybe there's a sales cycle. I don't know, do sales pick up in August, September? Sometimes maybe all of those enterprise purchasers are coming back from summer break and now they're talking about, or maybe that's when their budget cycle is. Is there stories and data that we can use that align with that? So we're thinking with a calendar in mind. So here's a couple examples. For Marchex, this is a B2B example, which is an ad tech company. What they do, a client, they actually have call analytics for how you go from, if you're like searching online and you use that Google click to call button and it goes to a call center, they have a solution that helps you track that better so that call center knows how to answer that call, knows what you've seen already, more like an online sales process even though it's offline. So we help them build the Marchex Institute. And that Marchex Institute specifically leveraged the data they had from their calls to create stories that could generate them coverage. So here's a story here in the New York Daily News. The swearing heart of it all. Study finds Ohioans curse more than anyone else in the nation. So one of the things that you could use their technology for was they could actually track calls and search for keywords and know if someone's like, swearing during the call and actually could aggregate that by state. So we helped them do that, create a story. So now what are the most polite and what are the most rude states in the US? Suddenly we can create that and we create a whole series of stories from the Marchex Institute. We like that so much that we created the RepairPal Institute. So the RepairPal Institute, RepairPal, another client, it's the best place if you have to get an auto repair and you want to see what are a certified repair shop in your area and you want to know that you're getting a fair price, you go to RepairPal. So we created the RepairPal Institute, and for them, we released the RepairPal Institute Car Repair Index. So actually for this one, we rank states across the US on how expensive it is to repair your car in that state. So we created a basket of repairs that are common. We used their data to price it out in states across the US. And now we're getting coverage like here in the Salt Lake Tribune. Utah ranks 11th for most affordable car repairs by leveraging that. So the point is that you can create data that makes you more newsworthy, and data is actually a valuable commodity. Why? Because a journalist would love to create it for himself or herself, but it's hard. It takes time. So this is how we can add value to the process. Here's a more dramatic example. How do you make a boring product a sexy topic that all media will cover? Who here has a boring product? Raise your hand. Okay, you're like, it's super boring. Okay, wait, what is your product?
It's an IoT device that measures the density of the snow and calls firefighters before a building collapses.
Okay, well, it sounds important. She said it measures the density of the snow to call firefighters before a building collapses. Wow, that sounds important. That sounds good. I can see great stories for that when it's snow season in certain areas and talking about the risks in that area that you can create. So, okay, I actually don't think it's that boring. I have a more boring topic for you. My boring topic is green beans, specifically canned green beans. Okay, so we are going to make canned green beans sexy. Okay, I promise you we'll make it sexy. So, canned green beans, hard to generate a story. Ben, you're telling me create data to be in the news all the time. I don't know. What kind of data is there about canned green beans? So here's what we did. We did a survey of 2,000 people to determine which U.S. states love green bean casserole the most. I can tell you that this story will not get covered 50 weeks out of the year by anyone. In fact, they'd probably laugh if we pitched it. But what do you think are the 2 weeks out of the year where suddenly this is highly relevant and a highly sexy topic? Anyone? Thanksgiving, the holiday, the one holiday where you eat green bean casserole, right? So this is what my point here is, that maybe you have a product or software or an app that naturally creates data, right? So you can do that. I see Austin here. Austin is with Lyft. I know, okay, Lyft has probably a lot of interesting data on the patterns of people driving around. There's a limited number of things they could do. But not everyone here is like that. So what about if you're not Lyft? How do you create data that makes you relevant? And so here's an example with something like a simple survey. So here's what happened. The winning headline, Thanksgiving story, Kentucky ranked #1 for love of green bean casserole. Is anyone here from Kentucky? Do you like green bean casserole?
Love it.
You love it? Okay. That's good. That's good. So, that ranks #1. Now, here's the coverage. So, we pitched a unique ranking in all 50 states. So, every state, media that got like, California ranked number 27. Like, Alaska, step up your game. You're ranked 49. Come on, let's do this. Right? So, everyone got a different ranking. So, this is TV station, Denver, Colorado. And we created B-roll, which is basically, video that showcased Del Monte products so that we got basically free TV advertising across the country of them using our B-roll. So this is Colorado ranks 8th for green bean casserole lovers. Houston, Texas number 14 for a love of green bean casserole. Lexington, Kentucky, Del Monte survey, Kentucky ranked #1. 78% really like or love the dish. And by the way, we're planting in people's minds that everyone loves green bean casserole because the subliminal message here is that, whoa, your in-laws are coming over and you're like not making green bean casserole. Oh. I don't know if I want to be you on Thanksgiving night, right? We're playing that everyone loves. So that's kind of like defining the perception around our product. We're actually, by the process of ranking, actually subliminally saying everyone likes green bean casserole. What's the truth? Like mashed potatoes rank a lot higher, honestly. But green bean casseroles, it's right. It's there. We want to make the case. Okay, so this is CBS Radio ranked each state's local ranking across their entire national network of radio. So this is CBS Chicago. Illinois barely makes top 20 states that love green bean casserole. A prestigious list, we assure you. It ran as the lead story on the front page of Yahoo and was shared countless times, I think millions of times on Facebook. According to Del Monte, 30 million green bean casseroles will appear on tables across the country this Thanksgiving. And you can see Kentucky named the capital of that legendary Thanksgiving dish. And we also laser targeted our pitch with media outlets that have audiences of heavy canned food users. Does anyone here read Living the Country Life magazine? Virginie, yes? No? Okay, so Living the Country Life magazine, readers of that are heavy canned food users. So the point is that as we create this data, and maybe you're saying, okay, I'm an enterprise B2B company where we have only 100 companies in the world that can buy our product. That's fine. Let's create data that is highly relevant to them and let's laser target it at them. One little trick, I didn't have time to cover it in this presentation, but how many people have like a B2B startup where you're dealing with like very large customers? Okay, a few people. So here's a tip for this. I call it inbound pull PR. What you do is as you create this data, you actually use data that involve the companies that you want as clients. Okay? So you're actually using data, and maybe you're doing a comparison of what, I don't know, Cisco could do in this thing based on some data that you have, right? Versus some other big player you're trying to get. And what you're doing with this inbound pull PR technique is you're using the company's media and social media monitoring, either agency or tools, to draw them to you. So you create data, you have the company included in the data, and what happens is all of those big companies are tracking everything that's said about them. And what that does is that makes you show up on their radar, and you can embed within that data, within that article, things and insights and making it easy for them to contact you. So it's a way, as a small company, and if you do this consistently with your targets, you can pull a lot of those larger companies towards you simply in the data that you create and name dropping their names as part of that data. So Del Monte, 2 weeks, about 180 media hits, 75 plus local TV, 240 million impressions, about the equivalent of a $1.5 million ad buy, right? So for those of you who are small and you need that kind of, I'm assuming you can't spend 1.5 million if you've raised $2 million, right? So if you want that, this is a great way to get that traction. So build a simple data program that makes you valuable to the media that covers you. And again, if you don't have a great way to get that from your product, something as simple as a survey. Maybe it's a survey of your customers you already have. Maybe it's a survey of some of that, sort of beta testing that you're doing with people who could be customers. Maybe that influences your data program. But it usually will pay off great dividends.